In the vast, cold expanse of space, humanity was nothing more than a whisper. A single planet among millions, Earth floated silently in the cosmic darkness, unnoticed by the greater galactic civilizations that had mapped and conquered countless star systems. Un Park sat in the United Earth Diplomatic Corps headquarters, her fingers tracing the holographic display that showed the intricate network of alien communications. She was different from most diplomats, sharp, observant, and possessing an intuition that went beyond typical bureaucratic thinking. The first contact happened unexpectedly. A massive crystalline ship appeared in Earth's orbital space, its structure so complex and beautiful that it seemed more like a living artwork than a mechanical vessel. The aliens, known as the Confederation representatives, were tall, translucent beings with multiple limbs and communication methods that seemed almost like shifting light patterns. Their initial message was brief and condescending. Emerging species, the transmission read, "You have been identified as a developing civilization. Your technological progress is minimal." Hyun Kim, the lead research coordinator, analyzed the message with a mixture of frustration and curiosity. The alien communication suggested that humans were viewed as primitive, something akin to how humans might view an isolated tribal community on Earth. The Confederation's assessment was simple: humans were not ready for advanced galactic interactions. They recommended continued observation and potential intervention if humans showed signs of dangerous technological development. But Un and Hyun knew something the aliens did not. Humanity had been preparing, quietly and systematically, for this moment. Years of covert research, technological development, and strategic planning had positioned Earth for this exact scenario. Inside hidden research facilities scattered across the planet, teams of scientists had been developing technologies that could potentially challenge the alien perception. Quantum computing, adaptive communication systems, and advanced strategic algorithms were being refined in secret. The alien ship remained in orbit, sending periodic scanning signals and collecting data. They seemed more like distant observers than potential threats, believing their technological superiority made them inherently safe from any potential human challenge. Un studied their communication patterns. The aliens used a complex system of quantum entanglement for their transmissions, believing it to be unbreakable. What they didn't know was that a small team of human researchers had already begun to understand and potentially manipulate these communication networks. Han approached Un with a digital report, his expression a mixture of excitement and caution. "They've categorized us as a Class D emerging civilization," he said, pointing to the classification. "Essentially, they think we're barely capable of understanding basic interstellar concepts." The classification was meant to be insulting, but for Un and her team, it was an opportunity. Being underestimated was often the greatest tactical advantage. The alien ship continued its silent observation. Scanning beams swept across Earth's surface, collecting data on human settlements, technological infrastructure, and population distribution. Each scan was processed through their advanced systems, reinforcing their belief that humans were technologically insignificant. But beneath this seemingly passive observation, humanity was preparing. Research facilities worked around the clock. Military strategists developed contingency plans. Diplomatic teams like Un's were collecting every possible piece of information about the Confederation. In conference rooms and hidden laboratories, a quiet revolution was brewing. The aliens saw a primitive species. Humanity saw a challenge to be conquered. As the crystalline ship continued its orbital dance around Earth, neither side fully understood the magnitude of the encounter. The Confederation believed they were conducting a routine survey of an emerging civilization. Humans knew this was just the beginning of something much larger. Un Park looked out the window of the diplomatic headquarters, watching the alien ship's reflection in the glass. A slight smile crossed her face. The game was about to change, and nobody, especially not the Confederation, was ready for what was coming. Little did the aliens know that humanity's true potential was about to be unleashed. In a nondescript research facility on the outskirts of New Seoul, something extraordinary was happening. Jae Wong stood before a wall of quantum processors, his hands moving quickly across holographic interfaces that hummed with potential energy. The room was cold and sterile, filled with equipment that looked more like art installations than scientific instruments. Monitors flickered with complex algorithms, showing patterns that seemed to dance between mathematical precision and controlled chaos. Months of frustrated research had led to this moment. Jay and his team had been studying the alien communication networks, trying to understand their quantum entanglement communication systems. Most scientists had called their work impossible. The alien technology was supposed to be unbreakable, a perfect system of information transfer that no emerging civilization could hope to understand. But Jay was different. He saw patterns where others saw nonsense. His team included specialists from various disciplines, quantum physicists, communication experts, and even a few maverick programmers who believed in pushing technological boundaries. Their breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A junior researcher named Minho had been studying old human communication technologies, particularly how early internet protocols managed data transmission. He noticed something strange in the alien communication patterns, a subtle weakness that nobody had seen before. The alien quantum communication system worked like a perfect, complex lock. But every lock, no matter how sophisticated, has a potential key. Minho had found the first hints of that key. Jay watched as the team ran simulations. The computer models showed something incredible, a way to not just intercept alien communications, but to potentially manipulate them. It wasn't about breaking the system, but understanding its fundamental language. "We're not just listening," Jay told his team, "we're learning to speak their technological language." The implications were massive. If they could understand and potentially control the alien communication networks, they could change everything. No longer would humanity be seen as a primitive civilization. They would become a strategic threat. The research facility was a fortress of secrecy. Limited access, multiple security layers, and constant monitoring ensured that their work remained hidden. Not even the highest levels of Earth's government knew the full extent of their research. Days turned into weeks of testing. Each simulation brought new revelations. The alien communication system was complex, but not perfect. It had been designed with an assumption of technological superiority, which made it ironically vulnerable. Minho's original observation became the foundation of their breakthrough. By understanding the subtle rhythms and patterns in the alien communication network, they could create a system that could potentially infiltrate, understand, and even redirect their transmissions. Jay knew they were creating something more than just a technological solution. They were developing a strategy that could level the playing field between humanity and the vastly more advanced alien confederation. The quantum processors continued to hum. Complex mathematical models transformed into potential communication protocols. What seemed like random noise to an untrained eye was actually a carefully constructed language of technological revolution. "We're going to show them," Jay whispered to himself, "that humans are not to be underestimated." Each successful simulation brought them closer to a technology that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. They weren't just developing a communication system, they were creating a weapon of information, a tool that could potentially dismantle the alien confederation's sense of superiority. The breakthrough was more than a scientific achievement. It was a statement. Humanity would not be dismissed. They would not be categorized and forgotten. They would rise, using nothing more than human creativity, determination, and an unbreakable spirit of innovation. As the final simulation ran, Jay and his team watched with a mixture of excitement and quiet determination. The first key to humanity's galactic future was being created, line of code by line of code, in this small, cold room on the edge of a planet that the aliens had written off as insignificant. They were about to prove how wrong the aliens truly were. The tension began at the Outer Rim Station, a neutral diplomatic outpost floating between disputed star territories. Un Park arrived wearing a simple dark blue uniform, her presence calm but carrying an underlying current of determination that even seasoned alien diplomats could sense. The Confederation representative towered above her, a crystalline being named Vorlek, whose body resembled intricate geometric shapes that shifted and moved like living glass. Its communication translator produced a mechanical voice that dripped with condescension. "Humanity's request is irrelevant," Vorlek stated, the translation device making its words sound flat and emotionless. "Your species lacks the fundamental understanding of galactic protocols." Un's research team had prepared her for this moment. Every gesture, every potential response had been meticulously planned. She understood that this was more than a diplomatic meeting, it was a strategic engagement. Behind the scenes, Hyun Kim and his technology team were monitoring every single communication channel. They had developed sophisticated tracking systems that could capture nuanced data from these interactions, gathering intelligence that went far beyond traditional diplomatic exchanges. The specific dispute involved resource allocation in a neutral mining sector. The Confederation had been systematically excluding human exploration and mining rights, treating Earth's representatives like inexperienced children who didn't understand complex interstellar economics. What the aliens didn't realize was that each rejection was being carefully documented. Every dismissive statement was being analyzed, translated, and integrated into humanity's growing understanding of alien communication and political structures. Vorlek continued its mechanical lecture, explaining why human requests were inappropriate. Its body continued shifting, light refracting through its crystalline structure, creating complex patterns that were meant to be intimidating. Un remained perfectly composed. She knew that emotional reactions were exactly what the Confederation wanted, a way to demonstrate human immaturity. Instead, she listened, recorded, and waited. Your technological capabilities are approximately 3 centuries behind standard Confederation development, Vorlek proclaimed. The statement was meant to humiliate, to reinforce the massive power differential between humans and the established galactic civilizations. What Vorlek didn't know was that every word was being processed through advanced quantum algorithms. Jay Wong's team was collecting linguistic patterns, communication rhythms, and subtle nuances that could be weaponized into strategic intelligence. The diplomatic meeting was becoming a chess match. Each statement, each gesture carried multiple layers of meaning. Un was not just representing Earth, she was gathering critical information that could be used for future strategic planning. Subtle technological sensors hidden within her diplomatic communication devices were capturing quantum-level communication signatures. What appeared to be a simple diplomatic rejection was actually becoming a massive intelligence-gathering operation. As the meeting concluded, Vorlek believed it had completely shut down human aspirations. The crystalline being's body shifted into what could only be described as a gesture of dismissal, expecting Un to accept the Confederation's decision. Instead, Un simply nodded, her expression revealing nothing. "We acknowledge your communication," she said, her voice steady and professional. Back on Earth, Hyun and his team were already analyzing every microsecond of the interaction. The diplomatic failure was not a defeat, it was an opportunity. Each rejection was another piece of the strategic puzzle humanity was carefully assembling. The Confederation thought they were maintaining control. They believed humans were too primitive to understand the complex games of galactic politics. They were wrong. Tensions were rising, but not in the way the aliens expected. Humanity was patient, strategic, and far more prepared than anyone realized. The diplomatic meeting was just the beginning of a much larger plan. As Un Park left the Outer Rim station, a slight smile crossed her face. The game was just getting started, and humanity was about to change everything. The strike began silently, without a single weapon being fired or a single traditional military action taking place. Hyun Kim's team had prepared for this moment with mathematical precision and technological brilliance that would redefine warfare. Quantum disruptors, devices so advanced they seemed almost magical, activated simultaneously across hundreds of star systems. These were not explosive devices or traditional weapons, but information weapons that could dissolve entire communication networks in seconds. The first target was the Confederation's central communication grid. Massive quantum processors, which the aliens believed were completely secure, suddenly began to malfunction. Complex networks that had managed galactic communications for centuries started to collapse like delicate glass structures. Jay Wong watched the initial phases from a secured monitoring station. His fingers moved across holographic displays, tracking the progression of their strategic attack. Each system failure was not random, but precisely calculated to create maximum disruption with minimum direct intervention. Transportation grids went dark. Alien civilizations that had never considered the possibility of a comprehensive system failure suddenly found themselves isolated. Communication between star systems became impossible. The perfect, interconnected galactic network was unraveling. What made the attack remarkable was its bloodless nature. No physical violence occurred. No direct military confrontation happened. Humanity was defeating the Confederation through pure technological superiority and strategic thinking. The quantum disruptors didn't just interrupt communications, they systematically dismantled the infrastructure that the alien civilizations had considered unbreakable. Each system failure revealed another layer of vulnerability that the Confederation had never anticipated. Un Park, monitoring the global response from diplomatic headquarters, understood the profound significance of what was happening. This was more than a military strike. This was a complete restructuring of galactic power dynamics. Alien civilization after alien civilization found their advanced technologies suddenly becoming useless. Communications satellites stopped transmitting. Quantum communication networks collapsed. Transportation systems froze mid-operation. The attack was so precise that it seemed almost surgical. No physical damage occurred, but the technological infrastructure of the entire Galactic Confederation was systematically being rendered completely non-functional. Vorlek, the crystalline diplomat who had previously dismissed humanity, would later describe the event as a technological tsunami that no one saw coming. The Confederation's belief in their technological superiority had been their greatest weakness. Jay's team had spent years studying alien communication protocols. They understood not just how the systems worked, but their fundamental structural weaknesses. Each quantum disruptor was like a precise surgical instrument, targeting specific communication nodes with incredible accuracy. Within hours, what had been a vast, interconnected galactic network was reduced to isolated, non-communicating systems. Alien civilizations that had never considered the possibility of a comprehensive system failure were now facing total technological isolation. The human strike was not about destruction. It was about demonstration. Humanity was showing the galaxy that they were not a primitive civilization to be ignored or marginalized. They were a strategic, intelligent species capable of revolutionary technological innovation. No missiles were launched. No conventional weapons were used. The entire operation was conducted through quantum algorithms, communication disruption, and strategic information manipulation. As the final systems began to collapse, Hyun Kim looked at his team. They had just changed galactic history without firing a single shot. The Confederation's technological arrogance had been their ultimate vulnerability. The message was clear: humanity was not to be underestimated. They were not a primitive species to be categorized and dismissed. They were a technological force that could fundamentally alter the balance of power in the universe. Un Park watched the final system failures on her display. A slight smile crossed her face. The universe would never be the same again. Humanity had just announced its arrival on the galactic stage in the most unexpected way possible. The unexpected strike was complete. The Galactic Confederation would never look at humans the same way again. Un Park stood in the massive conference hall, surrounded by representatives from formerly dominant alien civilizations. The room was silent, filled with a tension that could be cut with a knife. No weapons had been used. No direct conflict had occurred. Yet everything had changed. The Galactic Confederation, once an unassailable system of power, now sat in complete disarray. Alien species that had ruled star systems for thousands of years now looked at humanity with a mixture of fear, respect, and total bewilderment. "We are not who you thought we were," Un said quietly, her voice clear and calm. The translation systems carried her words to beings who had previously considered humans nothing more than a primitive species. Vorlek, the crystalline diplomat who had once dismissed humanity, now sat broken. Its complex geometric body seemed less vibrant, less confident. The technological strike had exposed the fundamental weakness of a civilization that had believed itself invincible. Hyun Kim and Jae Wong sat nearby, representing the scientific breakthrough that had made this moment possible. They were not military leaders or traditional diplomats. They were researchers who had proven that knowledge and innovation were more powerful than any traditional weapon. The transformation was not just technological. It was philosophical. Humanity had shown that technological superiority was not about having the most advanced weapons, but about understanding systems, finding vulnerabilities, and thinking differently. Each alien representative carried the weight of their civilization's failure. They had categorized humans as irrelevant, primitive, unable to compete on a galactic stage. Now, those same humans had completely restructured the balance of power without firing a single weapon. The conference was not about punishment or conquest. It was about establishing a new understanding. Humanity was not asking for dominance. They were proposing a fundamental restructuring of interstellar cooperation. We do not seek to replace your systems, Un continued. We seek to improve them. To make them more adaptable, more inclusive, more collaborative. The proposed new galactic framework was revolutionary. Instead of a hierarchical system where advanced civilizations controlled less developed ones, humanity suggested a network of mutual development and shared knowledge. J's quantum communication technologies were already being discussed as potential solutions for improving interstellar communication. The very systems that had been used to dismantle the Confederation were now being offered as tools for rebuilding. The aliens listened. Some with anger, some with grudging respect, some with genuine curiosity. The human approach was different from anything they had encountered. No demands for territory. No requests for resources. Just a proposal for mutual understanding. Han explained how human research had discovered the fundamental vulnerabilities in the existing galactic communication systems. It wasn't about attacking, but about understanding. About seeing connections that others had missed. The transformation was complete, yet it was just beginning. Humanity had not conquered through traditional means. They had conquered through innovation, strategic thinking, and a fundamental belief in collaborative progress. Vorlek, speaking for the first time, acknowledged the human achievement. We underestimated you, the crystalline being said. The words were simple, but carried the weight of a complete paradigm shift. As the conference continued, it became clear that this was more than a diplomatic meeting. This was the moment when humanity officially entered the galactic stage. Not as conquerors. Not as victims. But as equals. Un looked around the room. Representatives from dozens of alien civilizations were now listening, truly listening, to humans. The very beings who had once dismissed them were now seeking to understand them. The universe had changed. And humanity had changed it, not through violence, but through an unexpected combination of technological innovation, strategic thinking, and a fundamental belief in collaborative progress. The transformation was complete. The galaxy would never be the same again.